I could hide 'neath the wings of the bluebird as she sings. The 6 o'clock alarm would never ring, but it rings and I rise, wipe the sleep out of my eyes. The shaven rain.
Hey, good morning. How's everybody doing today? Well, 6 of you are doing great. The rest of you aren't quite sure. Are we allowed to talk in church? I don't know. Hey, welcome. If you're tuning in online, thank you so much. If you're out in the atrium, welcome. If you're here in the room, great to see everybody. My name is Ryan. I'm the lead pastor here at Crossroads, and we're looking forward to a great conversation. I want to say thank you to everybody for helping us follow the mask mandate. So pretend you're on an airplane. I'm watching you. Okay? Because I know some of you do the old no, I'm in a coffee shop. I brought my coffee with me. And you take a sip every 4 hours so that you don't have to wear the uncomfortable mask that nobody wants to wear, right? So pretend like you're on an airplane, active drinking. Okay. But we're grateful. Thank you, everybody. I know it's not fun, but we want to keep our restaurants open, and we want to keep our doors open as well. I hope to be in this room on Christmas Eve, and I think us wearing masks will help make that happen. So thank you. I know there's all kinds of debate and discussion about it, but thank you. Okay, so we're excited to have a conversation today. This is one of my favorite things that I love to do, and that is to pause on the content, right? We just have this tendency to push content out in church world. So every week there's a brand new message, and then you go to a connect group or a small group, and then you listen to podcasts, and it's just like we never have time to just kind of pause and reflect. So after we do kind of a longer series like this, I love to just hit the pause button and talk to some normal people about how this past series impacted them. Right, wrong, good, bad, whatever it might be, how has that been working in our lives? Because I know that their voices matter more than mine, because I'm paid to be here. I'm paid to believe this stuff, right? I get it. They're not, right? So I'm excited that we want to have a conversation. Now, while we're having this conversation, I want to encourage everybody in the room, everybody online, to ask yourself these questions. All right, maybe not the first one. That might be a little weird when I ask to introduce yourself. You might not want to think about that one. But when we start talking about the last 7 weeks, think about how you would answer that question, right? So let this be kind of a contemplative moment in your own heart, in your own life. All right, so let's jump right in. Let's take a second and tell everybody your name, email address, phone. Oh, that's the Connect card. Sorry. Tell everybody your name, maybe where you live, where you work, maybe how long you've been a part of Crossroads, what you do in your everyday normal life. So just let us get to know you a little bit. Let's start over here.
Good morning. My name is Dawn Gavaldon Infante. I'm married to John. We've been married about 8 years. We have a daughter named Nicole. We've been coming to Crossroads about 9, or I have anyway. John's been coming longer. I am a nurse. I am currently the nurse manager at Poudre Valley Hospital for the pediatric unit. So that is my everyday life right now in a pandemic. And that's it.
Awesome.
Good morning, Saints. My name is John Infante. I'm a retiree from Poudre School District. I've been coming here for about 11 to 12 years. Did you want to know my Social Security card?
I already have that. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Thank you, John and Tom. It's so good to have you all here.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Teresa Roush. I'm going to say good morning to the sinners out there because that's kind of who I relate to. My husband, John, and I moved to Loveland about a little over a year ago, and then it was about 6 months ago that we found Crossroads, so we're really glad to be here. During the days, I spend time teaching on a part-time basis as an instructor at Front Range Community College in the business program, and I'm also a personal financial coach and financial literacy educator.
Awesome. And you and John are products of what happens when you actually send me a text message to get together and have coffee.
Yeah, if you do that, make sure you know what you're in for because he comes through. So
now you're up here, right?
And here I
doing
am.
My job. That's the whole point.
And we're not getting paid?
No, absolutely not.
Shoot, I thought that. Okay.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Teresa, for being here.
All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Jim Adams. I am married to my wife, Monica. We have 2 kids, Ayana and Berhanu. We live about a mile away, and we've been coming to Crossroads for about 17 years. Right when the building was built, we moved here. We saw the building, saw the sign, and said, let's check it out. And we've been here ever since. We really appreciate everything Crossroads offers to us. Our kids, thank you. Our kids are in the programs. You know, we've been involved. I've done a lot with the church in terms of choirs and small groups and Project Hope, and I run a small group on Wednesday mornings. We might have a couple openings, right, Greg? Okay.
Yeah, good plug.
Yeah, thanks. And I also host online some Sunday mornings, so if you see Jimbo on there, that's me. So I'm the one who sends a lot of notes out.
Awesome.
Yeah, and on my everyday job, I'm an engineer. I fix things. I work at Lockheed Martin in Boulder. I also teach a little bit at Colorado State. So, and I run around the house and turn off light switches because I have 2 kids.
Love it. Well, we've kind of been having a conversation for a week, and thank you very much for taking time to be a part of this. I know it takes time beyond just sitting here, like just thinking through. And so one of the things that I sent out and we talked about was over these last 7 weeks, we've been trying to explore what Jesus believed. What did Jesus believe about different things? And as best as we can understand through the gospel writers, through history, like what was it that motivated Jesus, those beliefs? And so the question I have for you to start our conversation is, were there any of the weeks where we talked about different beliefs about that Jesus might have had that impacted you more than others? That you felt like, oh, I really connected with that spoke to me, it challenged me, made me mad, I didn't agree, whatever it might be. But was there one that kind of felt like, oh, this one stayed with me a little bit longer? Why don't we'll start on this side this time. We'll start with you, Jim. Anything?
Yeah, certainly there's one message that I've actually heard a couple of times, and every time I hear it, it really sinks in, and it takes me to the next level, and that's the one where we talked about the domes, or the eggshell, I think you called it, the domes, where it's the my story, the our story, and then the one story. And I keep finding myself in the my story sometimes, and in the our story, what am I part of? And I have to remember sometimes to pull back from that and spend some time in the one story. But I always have to remember to spend time in all 3, just like Jesus did. He spent time alone, he spent time with his group, but then he would bring people, everybody into the one story.
Yeah, that's great. Same one for anybody, or different, or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that one definitely resonated with me a lot. The idea of where our identity comes from was really strong for me in that particular message, because so much of my life, I looked at myself as my identity was in my life story, and I saw myself as a survivor of, and then the things that had happened in my life story, and that helped me take my identity to a different place and say, look at those I'm a survivor of as something that happened to me, and it's part of my story, but it is not my identity. And so just hearing that message and realizing that my identity is in that child of God identity, and resting in that made a huge difference for me. I think, just thinking about the scripture that we use there, and you talked about the woman at the well in John 4, and I can't even imagine being that woman, but just having the story really resonate with you about having that conversation with our Lord at that time just kind of blew me away.
Yeah. I thought that was interesting looking at that story, like how Jesus walked her through all those different spaces. Like, here's where you're stuck, but to get out of there, we got to go back to your own personal story to walk you through it. That was great. Yeah.
I would say, several of the weeks resonated with me, but of course, there's one topic that I do struggle with a lot, and that is the forgiveness topic. I'd like to think that I am forgiving, but that week, something was said that really hit me and has stayed with me, and it's about expecting the person that wounded me to fix me. And that comes with expectation, and that is never going to happen. So I learned that my forgiveness is not unconditional. And I've been praying a lot about it, and it has really helped me to more focus on where do I go to help me heal the wound instead of expecting that to come from somebody else. And Jesus shows us that way. He shows us the path, and that is through the love of God. And God loves me for who I am. And I am a child of God, and I don't have to expect that healing to come from somewhere else. So.
Yeah.
And for me, I think all of them just overlapped one another, Pastor, through my life. The one, and it was always on transformation. You know, the whole thing equaling transformation. We were at a game at the Broncos Stadium a couple weeks ago, and there was this guy that was sitting behind us, and he got into it with the guy across the aisle, and the F word flying all over what used to be part of my language.
Forgiveness. That's the F word you're talking about.
Thank you.
They were just screaming how they wanted to forgive one another.
Thank you very much.
Forgive you. No, forgive you.
But anyway, he was so upset that his leg started shaking, and I could just tell that he was on the verge of going over there and punching that guy. And years ago, I would have stood up and told both of them to shut up, because I'd have had a gun in my boot or my homies around, or both, being in a gang and stuff. And instead I had compassion. The Lord gave me compassion in my heart. And I just went like this to him, and he bent over, and I said, years ago I was in that same position, and I missed out on a lot of good jobs because I was in jail instead of being at work on Monday morning. And he said, yes, sir. And he sat back, and he never said another word the whole game, and it was just God. So we got up and we were getting ready to leave, and we were quite a few steps down, but the Lord had me turn around and go back and shake his hand and just say, you finished well. And he said, thank you, sir.
That's good.
But transformation, from, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, that kind of leads us to our next kind of topic of conversation is how are we experiencing transformation, right? Like, the idea of belief is that it determines behavior. So what we believe about ourselves determines how we behave towards ourselves, what we believe about others, about God, the universe, however we think about that. So, John, that's a wonderful example of how belief has transformed you. I'm curious, others, as you've thought about a belief that we've been exploring, or any other way you might want to share, like how has it affected you in your interactions with people, in your interactions as you're just kind of, maybe even in your own mental interactions, but how has belief changed, transformed, accelerated behavior in a positive way, in your opinion, in your life?
I would say, for me, it's having the peace and acceptance of knowing that God is ultimately in control. So that belief of my previous belief of me feeling that I had to do something, if I failed, that sets me back, oh, God's not happy with me. And I'm learning that those setbacks are just opportunities that God is using to help shape me and give me that discernment. Every time I do something now, and it's like, oops, that's God giving me that discernment of recognition to be able to say, okay, God, help me, give me the wisdom, guide me through this. And there is really peace in that, of letting those things go and letting God work through me.
That's good. Anybody else?
Yeah, so I think excuse me, looking at Jesus through his beliefs made him seem more human to me and allowed me a chance to reflect on how do I relate to this new kind of renewed vision that I found of Jesus. And last Wednesday, I had the opportunity to drive up to Vail by myself, and I'm one of those people that when I get in the car, I turn the music on and crank it up and singing away. So if you're ever in front of me and you look in your rearview mirror and somebody's just jamming out, that might be me. And I was thinking about this conversation and was thinking about this particular question, like what is the transformation? And it really hit home to me that it's about this sense of knowing Jesus a little bit more intimately. And as the moment I was thinking of that, the song, it's a version by Josh Groban, came on, of A Bridge Over Troubled Water. And I just sat there like mesmerized and felt this huge movement inside of me, like Jesus really telling me, like, this is who I am, and this is who I really would love for you to be as you get to know me better and better. So, I mean, some of these words, if you'll indulge me for a minute,
Yeah,
I'm not going to break out in
we should get Josh
song.
to pay attention in the band. Maybe they could do it at the end.
Yeah, right.
Just switch up the song.
Can we do that on the spot? That'd be awesome.
They probably could. They're that talented.
probably
I
could.
couldn't.
But you know, when you're weary, feeling small, when tears are in your eyes, I'll dry them all. I have no idea what Simon and Garfunkel were thinking when they wrote those lyrics, but to me, that's the Jesus that I now know much better. When evening falls so hard, I will comfort you. I'll take your part like a bridge over troubled water. So that transformation in me has just been that place where now I feel like I know Jesus even that much better.
Isn't it? Maybe everybody might speak to this for saying, like, the more we dig into the humanity of Jesus, the more that becomes a reality for me.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, the more I move away from this idea that, oh, like, Jesus was just God, you know, and we have that doctrinal reality that we confess, but it's actually the more we abandon that and dig into the humanity, which I think is the whole point of God in flesh, we experience that. I don't know if that's true for anybody else. I'm getting nods, but just to affirm, like, I find that so fascinating that the more I don't leave the divinity behind, but I recognize the transformation comes when I experience the humanity of Jesus, because that's what I can resonate, because that's where I'm transformed at that level, right? That's fascinating. Anybody else, Jim?
Yeah, I'm more on the belief determines behavior. You know, I still have some of those reactions, like John was saying, where I'm in a situation and then bang, I do something. And I say, why did I do that? What's going on? Well, there's some buried belief inside me. And this is kind of that reminder to maybe a little introspection, a little inventory, go back and start changing some of those. But it also reminds me that other people have those same things. And so I've really been taking this as an opportunity to be more patient with other people, give them a little more grace, just like I want the grace when I have those and I look back and say, oh, I can't believe I just did that again. I'm trying to just take some more time. I've been taking more time to give more grace out to the people around me. I mean, everybody's stressed, everybody's tired. We got a long way to go to get through all these situations that we've been through. And yeah, I'm trying to pass along more of that patience and more of that grace.
That's great. It's funny how there's just it seems to me Jesus calls us into a different way of seeing. Like, there's always the polarity. It doesn't matter what age we're in, what generation, there's always sides. And it just seems like Jesus pulls us into that space to be that. Like, I don't want to come from this side or that side, but I want to give the grace that I've been given to everything and to exist in this very different place. That's great. So let me ask this question. We're in a pandemic, and it's uncomfortable, right? Did you know this, Teresa?
I didn't know.
Okay, yes. Well, yeah. I'm glad you didn't. That's good. And it's really easy, as we've seen, to lose sight of the value of a gathering like this, to lose sight of the value of connecting as a church, right? It's not something that's unique to Crossroads. It's something that we're experiencing all over the world. My question for you all is, like, why are you still here? It's very easy to go, well, you know, I don't need to be there. It's being broadcast, or I don't need to tune in. I've got other things going on. But it feels like as I talk, I know, Teresa, I know you and John, you were a part of one of the journey groups that discussed and thought through it. You had mentioned, Jim, that you're a part of another group. Like, I'm just curious to hear from you all, like, why are you connected? What is the value of a gathered church reality? Whether it's gathering online, whether it's gathering in the room, but staying connected, why is that of value to you still? And how do you do that? Like, in the middle of a pandemic where we're all at different comfort levels, like, how do you find yourself staying connected to a community of faith, the vision, the shared vision of that community? So why is that important, and how do you personally find yourself staying connected?
It's important in our life, and I can't speak for John, but just as you've been teaching us, to stay focused on Jesus. Because when we start getting distracted in our everyday life, which happens, life happens, we can tend to become very hopeless, fearful, all those things that keep us in bondage. Where if we stay connected with our group, with our fellow believers, people that live everyday life like us and that we can be honest with and share our struggles and talk about what Jesus is showing us, how Jesus is working in their life, our life, and help diffuse some of those things that keep us in bondage. So it's important to us to be part of our group on Tuesday. We have another group on Wednesday, just because if we let it wane, our life in Jesus, our identity in Jesus will wane as well.
Interesting. Bells?
Yeah, so I'll jump in here. So as a self-professed introvert, pandemics really are kind of not a bad thing, right? Can I get an amen from the introverts in the room here, right? So it has definitely been a challenge to step out of that, okay, yeah, we can just stay at home, I don't have to worry about it. But I think the important piece of that is, especially now that I reflect kind of on what's happened over the last couple of weeks, I think we're called to, just as you said, Don, to not only fill ourselves up to be there, but for others that are there too. And now I'll turn that into my anthem. Like, I want to be that bridge over troubled water. And I can't, because we've been in some troubled water here for a while. So how do I be that bridge, not only for people that I know, but even for people that I don't know? So just showing up and giving eye contact for people that have maybe not had eye contact with people for a very long time. It might not even be something you say or something you do, but it's just being there and reflecting that love of God through however you handle yourselves. And I think it's really important. Plus, it's also important, like you said, Don, for us to continue to fill our cup up so we have something to fill out, to pour to anybody else.
That's good.
Well, Pastor, back in the day, I had this one woman I was married to, and I was too busy ganging and banging, but I from another gang. And she had my son, and at 2 years old, he beat my son to death with a belt buckle. And this is my 7th marriage. And I needed to be saved from that. And pastors like yourself, listening to God, through Jesus, through the Holy Spirit, through you guys, it has saved my life. I cannot afford to not be here. I don't have to say that I'm a drug dealer or an addict or, an alcoholic. I get to say I'm a child of God. So
That's
I need to
good.
be here.
That's good. Thanks, John. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll throw in one more thing too. You hear these stories. There's many stories. We hear Celebrate Recovery. We hear lots of folks and what they've come through. I believe there's something bigger going on, right? Something much, much bigger. I hear the stories. I hear the call, and I realize there is something bigger, and I want to be part of it. So yeah, I have the men's group, and we used Zoom. Thank you, Dennis, and everybody for setting up Zoom during the pandemic. We were able to use online and stay together as a group. I said the service projects, all these things. I also have a morning meditation I try to do just about every day. It's called Encounter, and you can find it online. And it's great, just brings me back to that word and that message and plugs me in. Like Don said, I need to be fed that so that I can keep tapping in, I can keep hearing that calling, because I know that when that call comes, like it's done for many people before, you think of Ananias in the Bible, and his one job, his whole life, be holy, one job, pray over Paul's conversion, and the next thing we know, we've got most of the New Testament, right? So I don't know what my role is going to be. I'll never know what the impact fully is, but I just want to be part of something bigger.
That's great.
Can I add something real quick?
Absolutely.
Too? I'm really
Don't
having
have to be
trouble
real quick.
with
People
this.
are used to nothing real quick when I'm talking, so don't worry about it. Take your time.
Well, okay then. No. I think here's a perspective for me too about why it's important to stay engaged and how we continue to do that, because like you said, we have no idea what the holidays are going to bring for us right now. So nobody has their crystal ball to know what is going to happen anytime soon. I will say this, I have never, even though when I've been at home in my introverted comfort zone and thought, I really don't want to go out today. I don't want to go to service, or I don't want to go to group Thursday night. I have never walked away from either one of those events with nothing more than the thought, man, I'm glad I came. Man, I'm glad I was here.
Yeah. It really is interesting. There's something powerful about that connection point. And I'm grateful we can gather in multiple ways. We have people gathering via Zoom, via the online campus. And so it's not to negate one or the other. It's to just say that priority of being a part of a community that's tapping into that bigger than, right, I think presents a vitality, and it creates an environment for, John, your story to not just be the only one, but for there to be other stories and for people to find that hope, right? So that hope is here kind of mentality. So that's awesome. So we're going to take questions from the audience now. No, I'm not. I think they're freaking out. We weren't going to do that. Some of you got really excited. I was just messing with them. But would you do me a favor and give these folks a great big hand? Thank you so much. All right, as they find their seats, do me a favor and pull out your program for me real quick. Everybody all across the auditorium, if you're at home, maybe open up another window there, click on where it says resources, your digital resources, and want to talk about a couple of things that are inside your program. As always, the Connect card. Let me just take a moment and just tell everybody, this is not just for our guests. This is for everybody. So each week, if you would please fill that out, put your name and email address. There's next steps. So even if you have no next steps or anything like that, it really does help us stay connected. And I really do appreciate that. And I know it feels like, what am I doing? Is it Big Brother? It's really not. We're just trying to do our very best to care for people and to stay up to date. And this is a great way to do it, whether it's online or in the room. So every week, if you're a regular attender, just your name and email address on the front of that card. But leverage the back. There's a group of people every week. Our entire staff gets all the prayer requests that are put in there. We have a group of care ministers that get that. They get those prayer requests, comments, things like that. So please do take advantage of it. But what I really want to talk about for just a few minutes are these two inserts that you have. We loaded you up this morning with inserts. And one says holiday season calendar, and then the other says a feast of gratitude. And what I want to do is just kind of talk a little bit about what's next in our journey as peacemakers. And so the way we talk about faith here at Crossroads is that we are a community of peacemakers, people that are committed to bringing wholeness into the world as much as possible this side of eternity, to give of ourselves, to fill in the gaps, to where we see the cracks and where we see the crevices in justice, where we see the cracks and crevices where there needs mercy and generosity and wisdom. We want to fill that. And we focus that and center it on Jesus' statement, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God." And so there's lots of really amazing things coming up. So if you'll look with me at this holiday season calendar, we just want to take just a few minutes to share together what we're excited about that's coming over the next few weeks. You'll notice the first thing that's mentioned there, it says stuff the drugs and run. That's what we're going to do. Stuff the drugs and run. It's a brand new ministry here at Crossroads. John is leading it. I don't know if you know that or not, but it's going to be good. So thank you very much for using your gifts and talents, John, to help us pay for the mortgage. I can take that joke as far as we want to, as you're comfortable, and probably even beyond where you're comfortable is my spiritual gift. Stuff the truck is what we're talking about. And it's on the west side in the atrium. You'll see the tables there. On the tables in here, there's bags. Please don't fight one another. If there's two families sitting at a table, we have plenty of bags. But would you take a bag home with you this week? Would you go to one of the local grocery stores, go over to Costco, whatever it might be, fill that bag up, bring it back. We want to raise 4,000 pounds of food for our community to really load up the food pantries and make sure that those that might be struggling with food insecurity have plenty to eat. And so this really does start and launch what we call our season of generosity around here. One of our core values as a church is being generosity. And so you'll find that I have no problems calling us to be more and more generous, to the point where it can get annoying. But just remember, every opportunity is not one that everyone has to participate in. We always participate in generosity with the measure that we've been given. That's a wonderful principle that Scripture gives us. It's very wise. We give generously according to the measure that we have, what's been brought into our life when it comes to these above and beyond generous opportunities. So I would encourage everybody to participate in that over the next few weeks here in the month of November. Next week, we're launching a brand new teaching series, and that's what this is all about. It's called A Feast of Gratitude. And we're going to spend 3 weeks focusing on the power of gratitude in our lives, particularly how we experience the presence of God in our gratefulness. And we want to look at this from a unique angle. We want to look at what does it mean to, first of all, be grateful for our present circumstances, right? What does that mean to look at what we're in right now and have gratitude in the midst of it? And then we're going to look at what does it mean to be grateful for our past? And then we're going to look at something very interesting is what does it look like to be grateful for our future? And how do we experience God's presence in those 3 activities? So that's what the next 3 weeks are all about here in November. If you're tuning in online, maybe you have a friend you want to invite out or send the link to for the online campus. We'd love for you to participate as well. And then you'll see something really cool. The next one on the list, November 20th, launches our partnership with the Salvation Army. So this is the first time our church has done this, and we're partnering with the Salvation Army. Dennis gave me this cute little bell, right? So that's not bring me tea, although that's kind of the frequency, right? It's tea time, right? But what we're going to do, and I have to be honest, the director for the Salvation Army for our community maybe 2-3 months ago came and we met and he said, you know what, we would love to have Crossroads be a part of the bell ringing. And I said, okay, well, what does that look like? And he said, well, you know, here's the deal. The Walmart right here off of 57th, is that right, 57th? The Walmart here has never really performed well because we have a hard time getting bell ringers at it. And that's like our back door here at our church. And so he said, it would just be amazing if we could get some folks from your church that would want to participate. And we were listening. And I said, okay, well, what does that look like? Like, how many hours is it? And it was basically like 10 shifts a day or something like that. But it totaled something like 360 shifts. I don't know exactly the amount of hours, but it was very it was funny what they were asking of us. It was really pretty minimal. And I said, well, why don't we just take Walmart? We'll just do it all. Thank you for clapping, because that means you're going to sign up. So go ahead and clap. Everybody clap for the faith of your pastor. So that's my faith in us. It's my faith in us. And I just said, well, if that's the one, we'll just take that one. And part of it was driven by, I said, well, what do other churches in the community do? And I was like, well, we can definitely do better than them. So here's what we committed to. We committed to adopting that Walmart. So there's 2 doors, and our goal this year is to just have at least one person at one door the whole time from Crossroads, and that we would do this. Now, here's what's so amazing. Why should you do this? Because you are not allowed to come to Christmas Eve service unless you have done a shift at the door. So we'll be checking the Salvation Army's website. No, we're not going to. I wanted to do that, but they wouldn't let me. I was like, no, if you can't spend 2 hours raising money for the poor, you can't come for an hour at Christmas Eve and say you love Jesus and light a candle. That's hypocrisy. And they said, calm down, Ryan. Calm down. And I said, all right, well, we'll be a place of grace. But I would just encourage you, if you have time to come out for Christmas Eve, you have time to ring a bell to help the poor in our community. And so I would encourage, thank you very much. So here's how this happens. If everybody just takes a shift, quite honestly, if everybody were to say for the next 4 weeks, we'll do 1 shift a week and just put that in our schedule, it's done. There's so many of us. But I recognize that's not what everybody can do. You couldn't do that. Some of you could say, well, I'll do it once a week at a different time, or I'll do it once every other week. But if everybody participates, we'll get there. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a shift, just so you know. I'm going to pick a shift and do that same shift every week as to say, hey, I'm not going to ask you to do something that I'm not willing to do myself. So that's what I'm going to do. Participate as you can. Do me a favor, pull out your phone right now. Everybody pull out your phone. Don't act like you don't have one. I know you're checking the score of the game. Don't even, you're like, Has it started yet? Has the kickoff happened? All right. So up on the screen is going to be a QR code. All right. So turn your camera on and just scan that QR code. I just want to show you real quick how this works. All right. So we're partnering with the Salvation Army. This is going to take you to their website. So everybody scan the QR code. This is the interactive moment of our experience. If you're at home, you can scan it on your TV as well, because that's what you're looking at while I talk right now. All right, so scan that. You'll notice there's just a couple of questions that you have to answer. Walmart starts November 20th. So you'll pick one of those days, you'll look at your calendar, and then you pick which door. You have to pick the location, make sure you choose the right location that's there. So you can do it right from there, and that's how we're partnering with them. So we're going to push you to their site. Now, if you say, I'm confused, could somebody help me sign up for this? We say, no, you have to be technologically savvy to go to church here, so find a new church. No, absolutely, we want to help you. So here's the deal. Our volunteer engagement team is going to be outside just to the east doors in the atrium, and they have a great big board up there for the kettlebell ringing, the red kettlebell ringing, and they'll help you get connected. They'll help you sign up. They'll put you up on the board. So we got digital and analog going today, okay? And we're just going to kind of go a week at a time. So it starts in 2 weeks. That's what's on the board right there. We want to fill that over the next 2 weeks, and then we'll start changing it out. But just sign up for that, put it in your calendar. And I would encourage you to pick what you know will be the most difficult times to sign up. Don't get in there and pick the easy ones, all right? Don't get in there and pick the easy ones. So let's be those people, all right? So that's exciting. And then on the 21st of this month, we're going to be talking about what the 2022 ministry vision, ministry emphasis is. Our adventure is worth it. And you're going to hear me talk about adventure is worth it. And we did kids are worth it and peace is worth it. And so our next emphasis is called adventure is worth it. When I talk about giving financially at our church, I talk about giving to three things: giving to what's now, giving to what's next, and giving to where there's need. And so that's kind of how our family has thought about giving and how to be generous in our journey of faith. And so the way we practice this at our home, and what I encourage our regular tenders, is to give to what's now is to bring in that tithe, that principle of tithing, 10%. I use the word principle, not law. It's not if then, but that principle of tithing. So that's what we do. And then we every year give to what's next. We want our church to be moving forward. And so we set aside an amount every month, every week, whatever it might look like, to give to where we believe the Spirit is directing us so that we're never stagnant. We don't want to be stagnant water. We want to be living water, moving water. And then we always look for need. Where is there need around our world? Where is there need in our community that we can be very generous with? Now, here's the thing. We're in a pandemic. Okay? And so what I know is happening all over the country, all over the world, in our homes and in our churches, is that those three things are bleeding together. What is now, what is next, and what is needed are all the same thing. So for our church to continue in the vision, in the mission that we are, to pay the light bills, to pay the mortgage, to deal with the realities of the pandemic, we put all of that together. And the way we encourage and energize that giving is through the Adventure is Worth It campaign. And so what that is asking of us is to give above and beyond our 10% to keep our church moving forward in the pandemic, to make sure that we're here for our community, that make sure that we're creating a space where everybody can come regardless of where they grew up, what they've done, regardless of how rich they are, regardless of human sexuality, that you can come and be whole and be loved and be a part of this great big thing called the family of God. So it's important, and we're going to press in. So we're going to talk about that. But now's the time to just start thinking as a person who is Crossroads Church, what does that look like for us? So we can continue into this beautiful mission and vision of being a community of peacemakers all around the world. We want to wrap up this series with communion. I want to breathe a little bit. I love communion. If you're new, if this is your first time, if you're tuning in online, maybe this is the first time you say, what's going on? We practice what's called open communion here. We have an open table. Choosing who receives communion is way above my pay grade. Way above my pay grade. So if this is your first time ever encountering this, we want to encourage you to take the bread and the cup and just open up your heart to how God, the universe, whatever words you like to use, how this can be a meaningful experience. And I'll talk about what it means from a Christian perspective, certainly. But this is a moment where we pause and we reflect, and I like to attach it to the series. So we've been talking about believing like Jesus. And I would just encourage you during these moments to just kind of quiet your heart. We're going to have 5 stations that you can come to and receive the bread and the cup. So there'll be 3 in the front and 2 in the back. So if you're sitting towards the back, just recognize one of the stations in the back might be closer to you. During this song, we'll invite you to come forward and grab that communion as you feel comfortable, and then head back to your seats and just hold it until after the song. And what we'll do together is we'll eat the bread and we'll drink the juice as a sign of unity. And what unites us in this room is not vaccinations. Oh, he didn't. What unites us in this room is not masks. What unites us in this room is not our gender. It's not our sexual orientation. What unites us in this room is not how much money we make. What unites us in this room is not what we believe about God. What unites us in this room is what Jesus believed about you and every person on this planet and every person that will ever live on this planet. That we are all fearfully and wonderfully made, that we are all created in the image of God, that we are all worthy of love, that we are all in love, that we are all in Christ. And the gift of Jesus to us is the faith to believe that about not only ourselves, but about every person, regardless of race or creed or sexuality. That's what unites us. And that's why this is truly the most scandalous thing that we do as Christians, to dare to believe that every person is of equal and infinite value to every other person and to God.